Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever and wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy, and joining me for the next hour to talk about our beloved Los Angeles 2, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty well. They did the thing again. Arvidsson 7K, they still did it. It's kind of a meh slate until the late games. The late games went absolutely nuts. So if you didn't have any exposure to the late games, it was a good night to get some sleep. So I got to sleep a little early last night, and then, I'm refreshed for Friday. I like 5-game slates, so I'm ready.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird slate last night. Carolina was just running all over Dallas the entire game, but none of the top 6 guys really got there. Nino Niederreiter scored a pair of goals. Scott Wedgwood had a huge game with 44 saves in net. Florida went into Montreal. They beat Montreal as expected. Their scoring kind of spread out. Giroux had a couple assists, nice night for him, but Sam Reinhart 1 goal, no assist. Alexander Barkov 1 goal, no assist. Like, it was one of those nights for Florida. So yeah, we were really waiting until the late games, and then Edmonton, Vegas, and Los Angeles kind of did the thing for us. I think the first game I want to talk about is that Tampa Bay Boston game. Boston was without Patrice Bergeron in that contest, and they absolutely throttled Tampa. Like, I know Boston had to come back and win. David Pastrnak scored a couple goals in the third period to finish off the hat trick to win 3-2. But Boston had the run of that game from basically start to finish. Tampa hasn't looked very good for about a month now. Like, is there any concern on your end?
It's kind of like, I forget who made the analogy. It was probably one of the Phil Jackson NBA teams. They just turn on the switch in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Feels like they're just like, we're in the playoffs, whatever. We'll turn it up when we get there. I don't know, but like, even in the games that they win, they look disinterested too. They have like 4 goals on 22 shots. And I think it's just their style of play that makes them just like look like they don't care or whatever it is. They're just so efficient sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember, I think it was the Blackhawks, like 2013, 14, 15, when they had, really great teams. They were, it seemed like they kind of slowed down in the final third of the season, just kind of resting up for the playoffs. But before we get too much further, I got to get to that super chat. Nicholas Barrett sending in a $200 super chat. Thank you very much for that. That is very generous. We very much appreciate it. Says, took down the top shelf on DK last night. Congrats to you. Nice takedown.
That's 20K, I think.
Yeah, appreciate everything you guys do. Made me a much better DFS player the last couple of years. Placed a bunch of times in the past, but this was the biggest hit by far for NHL. And you got the Crow song going, so let's go. So even Mike picked the right song for the right day here today. Congrats to you, Nicholas, on that takedown. And thank you very much for the super chat. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, man. It sounds like you've been doing single lineups. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand the single life grind and high stakes. You can get a lot of, min cashes, and it's nice because min cash in the 333 is like $500-600, which is a lot of money. But to get up in the top 3 and winning that contest, it is a lot of money. So yeah, you'll love to see it. Like, I'm glad that you find our analysis helping you. That's what I like. That's why we're here. I like helping people, even if I haven't been able to help myself this season. But I take solace knowing that we've helped a lot of other people with our analysis.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you and I have had up and down season. That's just kind of the way it goes. I'm not too disappointed with mine, but yeah, certainly nothing close to that top shelf takedown from Nicholas Barrett. So thanks again for that $200 super chat. Congrats again last night, or on that lineup last night. Let's talk about our beloved Los Angeles 2 for a second. Like you said, Victor Arvidsson came back, but he didn't really do much, an assist and a few shots. But it was Phil Deneau that really did the job. A couple goals with 7 assists. Trevor Moore got a shorthanded goal, I believe. That's worth extra, obviously, on DraftKings. Sean Durzi, if you had him, the power play 1 defenseman, he had 3 assists for the assist bonus, or the point bonus, I guess, over on DraftKings. They were pretty chalky, but I think like it was one of those situations where it was right to kind of choke on the chalk, just, the back-to-back for Chicago and, D'Elia and net and all that. I think even without their big complemented defense, like they're still missing a lot of defensemen out of the lineup. This Los Angeles team still looks pretty good on most nights.
Yeah, and like maybe I'm gonna get roasted for this, but like I don't know, like Doughty is a loss, but it's not as a gigantic loss as some people are making out to be. Like if you took Yossi off the Preds, they would have nothing. Like the Kings do miss him, don't get me wrong, but it's giving them a chance to give their good young defensemen a chance to play. Like Dursey is coming into his own. They have Jordan Spence, who's been up for like 8 games now. He's playing over 20 minutes a night. You know what I mean? Like Edler is back and he's the veteran, settles everything down, even though he can't, really move anymore at his point of his career. But I think it's good because they have a good young team. They have a lot of young players. They're giving him the confidence boost to step up with Doughty out. And it's going to only help them going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Dursey and Spence, especially like you said, have really stepped up. Last game I want to touch on, Vegas laid the absolute beat down on Nashville. I think if I didn't have a lot of Saros last night, but I did have a fair amount. That certainly didn't go well. We were kind of waiting for this breakout from Vegas, right? Like their top line had actually been playing well. They just weren't scoring. And it's one of those things like, the percentages will turn eventually. It's just a matter of when it happened. It certainly looked like that started last night. But funny enough, it's after they move Marchessault and Carlson off Eichel's line. He played with Evgeny Dodonov last night. Dodonov was supposed to be an Anaheim Duck. That trade got reversed. And then his first game back in a Vegas uniform, he has a goal and 2 assists. He had a great night. Chandler Stevenson had the same. Jack Eichel, goal and assist with 5 shots. You and I have talked about how Jack Eichel's wrist might not be quite up to par, but I don't know, man. If he keeps taking 4 or 5 shots a game, it's kind of tough to fade him.
Yeah, and he's pretty priced like in the mid 6s, which is fine. But man, how bad is the Predators penalty kill? Like we rag on it all the time, but like they are awful. They haven't been the same since Ryan Ellis left. It's just so bad.
Yeah, and that and the discipline. Like they have been taking a little bit fewer penalties over the last month, but the discipline's been a big problem. Like even if the penalty kill gets better, if you're taking 4 penalties a night, it doesn't really matter all that much. So I want to see Vegas get into the playoffs. I want to see another team besides Colorado and Calgary like really have a shot. So
yeah, if Vegas gets healthy at the right time and they sneak in, they are going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's the thing is I was looking at the Vegas schedule and it's a pretty soft schedule coming up. And obviously Max Pacioretty was a game time decision. So you got to expect he'll be back very soon, but they just beat Nashville. Coming up, they have Chicago, 2 games against Seattle, 2 games against Arizona or Vancouver, a game against Arizona, and then another game against Vancouver. Like they could easily go like 6-1 over the next 7 games or something like that. And then, obviously they're right in the thick of the playoffs. So hopefully we get some good things from Vegas in the future. Hopefully we get some good analysis out of the 2 of us here today for this 5-game slate. Before we get too much further, if the chat could, please throw us a thumbs up. Click that like button below the video. It helps us get to the top of the algorithm. Click the subscribe button. If this is your first time here and you haven't subscribed yet, subscriptions help grow this channel, keep these shows coming. MLB is right around the corner, so we've got a lot of DFS content nearly every day. So make sure you subscribe to help us out and then help yourself out a little bit maybe. And click the notification bell to get alerts whenever we do go live. Up on the site, we have some free premium tools and data for non-subscribers to go check out. So even if you're not a member here, there's some stuff up on the site to help you out, whether you're playing NBA or NHL tonight or MMA this weekend. We have our NBA ownership rankings, we have our NHL player rankings, and our MMA fighter rankings all up on the site free for non-subscribers. So go check it out right now at Awesemo.com. And also Bots, Jeff Bottler, the 4th man here on the NHL side of Awesemo, posted his Power Plays article up on the site. Free to read for anybody that wants to get a little bit more, maybe some other NHL analysis from other than myself and Josh. check out Bots' article up on Awesemo.com as well. And finally, we have a podcast giveaway going on right now through our podcast channel. So just click through the Awesemo podcast channel in the link below this video. Leave a 5-star review with your Twitter name or user or Awesemo username. And if you do all that, you'll be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, Josh, we got 5 games on this slate. Looks like 5 pretty interesting games for a variety of reasons. I know there's a couple monster favorites, but there might be reasons to talk about the big underdogs in those games as well. But let's start with our first one here. We have the Washington Capitals going into Buffalo. Washington has a 3.5 implied goal total. Buffalo has a 2.6 implied goal total. Washington traded for Marcus Johansson at the trade deadline. He's going to be on the top line with Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. And then on the second line, they've moved up Connor Sheary to play with Anthony Mantha and Nicholas Backstrom. That's what, obviously, with TJ Oshie still injured. He's out of the lineup. With Oshie out, Tom Wilson down on the third line, but on the top power play unit. On the Buffalo side, looks like pretty much status quo from their last game, except Dustin Tokarski expected to get the net for them and not Craig Anderson. So it's not like Buffalo has a nothing total here, like 2.6, even if they're underdogs, not bad. And they do have a pretty good top line. So I think there's stuff to talk about on both sides. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, and real quick, I'm looking through the chat and I see our producer, Mike, like being super chatting. I was like, why is he in such a good mood? The Flyers absolutely curb stomped the Blues last night with that lineup. So he's in a good mood today. But yeah, here we are with the Caps again. It's like my kryptonite. I hate stacking the Caps. They have a massive road total and not much ownership on this 5-game slate, which concerns me because, I mean, you have Colorado, you have Calgary, you have the Flowchart boys, you have Pittsburgh with some spicy lines, by the way, which we'll get to. So, yeah, I think maybe, the Capitals get overlooked a bit here. I kind of like Dustin Tokarski, but that's just because, like, when, Habs fans were crying that Kreider ran Carey Price, Dustin Tokarski came in and really held his own there. He's a nice little goalie. I do like Dustin Tokarski. I think he's a better goalie than Craig Anderson at this point in his career. But for me, like, what I'm going to do with the Caps is it's not going to be a shock, and it's going to be how I deal with the Edmonton Oilers. I'm probably just going to power play stack, and it's because I don't want to play Marcus Johansson. It's probably going to be like Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Backstrom, and that 2-center build is going to get you on a different path if you are going to use the Capitals today, which is nice because there are some massive favorites here. And, Backstrom's price is nice, $3,900 on DraftKings. So he'll let you get in a secondary stack that, you don't have to play the Sean Corrales and the Eric Robinsons of the world, Jake. But yeah, so like I'm in on the Caps power play. If you want to go Caps 1, that's fine. You want to go Caps 2. Caps 2 could be an interesting filler. Mantha getting back into the swing of things. He's shooting the puck, which is nice. Backstrom on the top power play. I don't know how I feel about Sheary there. It's kind of one of those things, like, he just is everywhere in the lineup, and I just don't like playing lines that he's on. So I'll probably stick to a power play stack. On the Buffalo side, I'm in on Buffalo 1 again. They're pretty cheap. 15.7 on DraftKings for a fully correlated line is something I'm always interested. 2.6 total for a top-heavy team means, they're expecting the top 6 to score here. So I'm going to be on Buffalo 1 in MME. I don't know if I'm going to get to them in one. I honestly haven't even messed around with building lineups yet. I know who's playing who, but like I haven't started construction yet. But Buffalo 1's definitely going to be my mix. They should be in your MME mix. Like, Capitals are a good defensive team, but 5-game slate, you can't really cross anything off. And a fully correlated line that's fairly cheap is at 6% is something I'm going to have in my mix.
Yeah, here's where I'm going to start on the Buffalo side, because Washington's top line, like, they're typically not a great possession line. Doesn't matter the sample you look at, they're really up and down. They've been really bad defensively of late. I was just looking through the Washington numbers just for the month of March at 5-on-5, and expected goals against for Evgeny Kuznetsov 3.8. For Alex Ovechkin, it's 3.7. Like they're just not playing well defensively. If you want to look at the numbers on the top line this month, 29 scoring chances for, 34 against per 60 minutes. That's only a 46% scoring chance share, and 34 scoring chances against is just really porous defensively. That's the matchup that Buffalo 1 is going to go into tonight. And I looked at Buffalo 1's numbers this month. 41 scoring chances generated per 60 minutes, controlling 58% of the scoring chance share. They've been really, really good. I mean, Tage Thompson had a pretty big night, I think, in their last game out. They haven't had big nights together. I looked at Alex Tuch. Alex Tuch has, I think, 1 goal on his last 46 shots or something like that. Like he's shooting 2% over his last 15 games. That's obviously going to turn around eventually. Ilya Samsonov is starting in net tonight for Washington, not Vanacek, and Vanacek had been playing reasonably well of late until that last game. I think it was against St. Louis where they got blown up. So, maybe Samsonov, maybe all he needed was a little bit of rest or something like that, but he hadn't been playing well for most of the season. So you got a pretty high octane Buffalo 1 line going into that Washington top line that has not been good defensively at all this month. I really do like Buffalo 1 here. They're a stack that we've used quite a bit on the season. They've been good to us at times. They have not been so good to us at others, but that's also kind of the nature of stacking from a team like Buffalo. And like you said, the good leverage in our top stacks tool. By top stack percentage, they're the 7th highest stack to likely end up optimal. So it's not like they're a nothing here. And when you consider the massive favorites we have on this slate, like I think even being the 7th best line by optimal percentage is pretty good. So I do like Buffalo 1 here. I don't like Washington 1 for that exact same reason, as I think Buffalo's top line is going to be able to get the run of the play here. But Ovechkin's Ovechkin. All it takes is just one loose puck or like one weird bounce and he just wires it. And then, he's on the board and away they go. That's just kind of the way they are. It's not that I'm saying, fade Ovechkin or Ovechkin's a bad play or anything like that tonight. It's just, I think the defensive issues that have showed up, over the last 10 or 12 games or whatever, play to Buffalo's top line strengths. So I do like Buffalo 1 here. I don't like Washington 1. Washington 2 is fairly interesting for me because Connor Sheary's not a bad defensive player. I don't think we could consider him a very good offensive player, but Nicholas Backstrom is a great playmaker. Anthony Mantha is a really good, guy in transition, shooter, that type of player in the offensive zone. It's not just like Sheary doesn't need to be outstanding offensively to have, reasonable DFS value tonight. When you look at the price of the line, it's pretty cheap. And then if you look at Buffalo's depth, it's not very good. They're really struggling with the top line off the ice. So, if you don't want a full stack, I think you can leave Sheary off, but I think that Washington 2 line is perfectly fine here as a filler tonight. And, if you want to leave Sheary off and then throw in Ovechkin, make it, a pseudo power play stack or something like that, I think you could do that as well. So it's Buffalo 1, Washington 2 for me in this game. The Washington power play has just not been very good, basically all year. And the Buffalo penalty kill has gotten better of late, and they don't take a lot of penalties. That's just it. Those are the things that kind of worry me. So if you want a one-off Ovechkin, absolutely no issue with that. It's just, I'm not sure I would just full stack the top line is what I'm saying here. So Buffalo 1, Washington 2. On the blue line, Martin Ferravari is a guy that I always talk about. He plays 21 minutes a night. It's a 3.5 total. He's reasonably cheap. So, if you don't want to pay up for a super expensive Carlson, I think he's fine. On the Buffalo side, Jukka Harju plays a bunch of minutes, but Matthias Samuelsson, he's been playing 21 minutes of late. He's a guy that likes to block shots. So, if you want a min punt over on DraftKings, I think Samuelson's fine. Who you got?
Yeah. The other, what day is it? Friday? I think Wednesday. I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to play Jacob Bryson. He's been playing 20 minutes, 1.3 points. Matthias Samuelsson had 2 assists, a block bonus, and 2 shots on goal. Yeah, Matthias Samuelsson is the guy for me. I'm fine with Ferravari as well. That's probably about it. If you need the savings, you can on the caps and you want to play another cap for whatever reason, I think Nick Jensen's fine as well.
Yeah, don't mind him either. Let's get to your boys though. Pittsburgh, 3.1 implied goal total. They're going into New York to face the Rangers. The Rangers have a 2.8 implied goal total. Tristan Jarry has been confirmed as the goalie for Pittsburgh tonight. Igor Shesterkin not confirmed for the Rangers. Now, I imagine we're expecting Shesterkin to start tonight. This is a divisional game against an opponent that they honestly might even see in the first round of the playoffs. But we have seen the Rangers not have a confirmed goalie and go with Georgiev a couple times over the last couple of weeks, because Shesterkin hasn't been himself basically for a couple of weeks now for his last few starts. So, I'm assuming it's going to be Shesterkin. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgiev got the start for some reason, but yeah, I'm thinking it's Shesterkin against Jarry. Pittsburgh had a big lineup change to note. Rickard Rakell moved to the second line. He was playing down on the third line in his first game with the Penguins. Dan Heinen moved down to the third line in his place. So Pittsburgh's second line is now Rakell, Malkin, Brian Rust. That gives them two pretty good scoring lines, it looks like. What do you think of this game, Josh?
Yeah, I agree. It's probably gonna be Shesterkin. The Rangers don't play again until Sunday, and they don't have another game after that until Tuesday. When Georgiev got announced, they had like a day off, and then they had it back-to-back or something like that. But I don't know. You're right though. Igor has not been himself, but like, is a 945 save percentage sustainable over the season? Like, that have been one of the best goalie seasons of all time. Yeah. So it's good to. I'm glad he's getting the rough patches out now. They'll lock it up for the playoffs. They'll be a tough out. Now, the Rangers practice Kreider, Zibanejad, Vetrano. But then at the end of the practice, Kreider, Zibanejad, and Lafreniere were together. So I don't know what the top line is going to be. Lafreniere is cheaper than Vetrano. I don't think it matters from a lineup building standpoint, but it does make a difference from a DFS standpoint, if that makes sense. Like, Lafreniere up there makes that line better. I'm not saying Frank's a bad player, but like, Lafreniere is a good 5-on-5 player. Vetrano is a shooter and not very good defensively. So like, if it is Vetrano up there, I'm probably going to have more interest in pit one, despite it being Igor. Because, you saw the numbers with Vetrano, with Panarin and Strome. They're awful. I can't imagine they'll be much better with Mika Zibanejad and Kreider. So if Vetrano's up there, I do have interest in pit one, despite it being probably Igor, because they're coming in at 2-3%. Evan Rodriguez on that line makes it fairly cheap. Jake Gensel's down into the 6Ks now. He was up close to 8K at times. So that top line's fairly cheap. They're coming in at really good ownership. So I don't know. It is a 7:00 start. So if I see, Vetrano skating with the top line in warmups, I'm gonna consider some pit one here. You want to go to pit two? I think that's also fine. I feel like Andrew Kopp moving up to that second line is going to help them defensively. Like, it's not like rocket science, putting Kopp there instead of Vetrano, and they'll improve defensively. It's not rockets, but like, they're going to be better. So I think I'd rather just go to the top line for less ownership in this spot if it is Vetrano on the top line. If it is Lafreniere on the top line, I still have a little bit of interest, but like, I don't know. Either way, I'm going to be aware of what's going on in warmups, and I'll decide if it's Georgiev. Obviously, I'm going to have interest in Pittsburgh, but as it stands, like, I think I'm going to have the top two lines of Pittsburgh in the MME mix. On the Rangers side, I'm not. And it also, if Lafreniere is up on the top line, I'm going to have interest in Rangers one, because you've talked about it. The Pittsburgh top line hasn't been great recently, even with Rodriguez there. So, like, we love to rag on Lafreniere because he was number one pick and this and that. But like, he's the Rangers' best 5-on-5 player of the season. So, and the numbers with Kreider and Zibanejad are good. Vetrano, as much as I like him, he's just, I don't think their 5-on-5 numbers will be able to hang with the Crosby line. So if Lafreniere is up in the top line, I'm in on Rangers one. If it's Vetrano, I'm not. And I'm kind of interested in that second line. I'm interested to see how Panarin, Strome, and Kopp do. In MME for 2-3%, I think I'll take a couple chances and find out.
Yeah, I want to start with that Pitt one line because you brought up a good point that they hadn't been playing that well of late. The issue here is that Pittsburgh top line actually does have a decent like full season sample because earlier in the year, Brian Rust missed a bunch of games and Evan Rodriguez jumped to the top line with Crosby and Gensel. So while that top line hasn't been that good of late, if you look at the full season sample, or at least, their last 110 minutes together, the Pittsburgh top line is controlling about 56% of the scoring chances and generating 42 scoring chances per 60 minutes. We just talked about Buffalo 1 generating 41 scoring chances, how good that was. Pittsburgh's top line has been a little bit better than that. And to your point about Vetrano, the two things he does well is carry the puck through the neutral zone and shoot. But he's not a great playmaker. He doesn't pass, et cetera, et cetera. He just seems like the same player, just, worse, like than Zibanejad and Kreider. You know what I mean? Like Zibanejad and Kreider aren't particularly great playmakers. Like Artemi Panarin is a excellent playmaker. You know what I mean? I see Vetrano, like they're kind of like three similar players, just like in different tiers. I don't know how well that's going to go because like if you can't possess the puck, like you talked about, if you can't keep the puck away from Crosby and Gensel and Rodriguez, you could have a long night. Shesterkin can throw a wrench into those things, but I don't. And another thing, I brought it up this morning, writing over at Dobber Hockey, where I write about season-long fantasy hockey, is that they've been trying a lot of different right-wing combinations in their top six all season long. How long does Frank Vetrano even last on that top line? Like he could be back. I think we could see Alexis Lafreniere back on the top line by the second period. You know what I mean? So I'm not even sure how long that Rangers line stays together. So I don't want to play Rangers 1 going into that Pittsburgh line. So I'm out on Rangers 1. I agree with you. I do like Pittsburgh 1 here tonight. Good ownership, good pricing, good top 2 stack percentage. Full season sample at least has been very good. So yeah, absolutely no issues getting some Pittsburgh 1 here. It's the second lines, I think, where things get really, really interesting. Because Rust and Malkin typically have played very, very well together. This season, if you look just in their 60-minute sample together, 59% of the shots, 67% of the scoring chances go to that second line when they're on the ice, generating 40 scoring chances per 60 minutes. I can't imagine adding Rickard Rakell to that line is going to hurt in that regard. Like he's not a great possession players per se.
He's a better version of Frank Vetrano.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So like, I think that Pittsburgh 2 line is very, very, very much in play. I think the way I might approach it is some sort of Pittsburgh power play stack, because I'm speaking from a 1 lineup to 3 lineup perspective here, because I think I'm going to play 1 lineup tonight, is because I do like both of the top lines. Neither are really getting a lot of ownership. They're not expensive. And the Rangers penalty kill is very, very bad. It's Igor Shesterkin has been saving them on the penalty kill. I think his save percentage on the PK over the last 6 weeks is like 902. That's insane for a penalty. Well, not insane, but it's really good for a penalty kill. If he's not, at the top of his game, I think that Pittsburgh power play can really do some damage here tonight. So I think it's finding a way for a Pittsburgh power play stack that I like best from that side, but the first or second lines are just fine. I think even the third line, if you want to dip all the way down and get like a 2-man of Carter and Kapanen or something like that, like Carter's still playing 15, 16 minutes a night. They're going to go into that third line from the Rangers that I don't think is going to be very good. Like Lafreniere and Goodrow have been oil and water this season. They just haven't played well when they've been on the line together. 40% of the scoring chances when they're on the ice in 160 minutes together. Like, off the top of my head, that's about 14, 15 games worth of ice time. Like that's not a small sample. They've been awful. So I think even like if you want a one-off, like a Kapanen, Heinen, or a Carter, I think that's fine, or a 2-man. I think that's fine. So Pitt 1 through 3, but I do like a Pitt power play the most. Rangers 2, I think you're right. Kopp will help defensively, but I think his playmaking, like he's an underrated playmaker, I think. And I think that will help that Rangers second line a lot because it'll take the playmaking pressure off our Panarin a little bit, and maybe he starts shooting a little bit more. So I think if anything from the Rangers, it's Rangers 2. Maybe that Pittsburgh second line doesn't gel immediately, adding Rickard Rakell there or something like that. That can absolutely happen. So it'll be Rangers 2 for me, Pittsburgh power play. On the blue line, like Jacob Trouba's been losing some minutes, but his price is also down to 5,100 on DraftKings. I think that's reasonable enough for what he's skating. Does like a Keandre Miller or Justin Braun for some blocks interest you? And nobody from the Pittsburgh side, unless I'm correlating with Chris Letang.
Let me see. Like, I like Keandre Miller. He's a good player. He's just not great for DFS. You know what I mean? Braun has played like 17, 18 minutes with the Rangers in his first 2 games. That's fine for min price, getting some block shots. I wouldn't, if you need block shots here, I think Braun's fine. Keandre Miller, I just wish his offensive game would translate better to DFS. It just hasn't. Ryan Lindgren down to 2,600 is interesting for shot blocks too. He's going to get his 20 minutes because he plays with Fox. On the Pittsburgh side, outside of correlating with Letang, nothing super exciting. Like Matheson's back down to the 3Ks, but I much prefer him when he's in the low 3s, not high 3s.
Yeah, 3,700 is a little bit of a steep price to pay for Eastern Conference Cody Ceci. I agree. Opening day is right around the corner, and now is the time to lock in your Awesemo Plus MLB annual pass. Save 25% when you use the promo code Trout, all capital letters, last name Trout, at checkout to get player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, our top pitchers tool, and more for the entire MLB season right through the playoffs. This offer will drop to 15% off on April 1st, so make sure to use this code before April 1st to get the most of the savings. Just click the link in the video description below to activate this offer. All right, let's get to the spiciness of the night. You said spicy the other day, and it reminded me, I don't know, Sandra Bullock, I think, said that in the movie A Time to Kill, like in that exact same way. I think
that's where I got it from.
Yeah, okay, when she was eating sandwich or something like that. I had to hold in my laughter because I was like, did he just quote Sandra Bullock? And I was like, all right.
I do some weird things sometimes.
Hey, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. She's a great actor as well. But yeah, a little bit of spiciness here. We have Columbus with a 3.0 implied goal total. They're going into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 3.7 implied goal total. This is flowchart season, if there was ever a flowchart season. For those that are new here, the flowchart means, is Winnipeg playing? Yes. Is it a tough matchup? Yes, play them. Is Winnipeg playing? No. Or yes, sorry. Is it a tough matchup? No, don't play them. That's kind of the way Josh's flowchart goes with the Winnipeg Jets. It definitely worked out last night. They lost 5-2 to Ottawa. That means it's a back-to-back for Winnipeg. I'm wondering if they go to Eric Comrie in net or not here because is he? Oh, yeah. I missed that. Oh, because they have been going to Hellebuck at times on back-to-backs. Hellebuck probably does need a rest. It would be like 9 starts in a row for him or something like that. Okay, so Eric Comrie going for Winnipeg. The spiciness here is it's Patrick Laine's return to Winnipeg. Him and Jack Roslovic, actually. It's a 6.5 total between these two teams. Lots to like on both sides, I think. What do you like, Josh?
6.5 trending towards 7 too. Like, okay. Who was it this one? I think it was Corsi, one of our sharp cash players, saying that Adam Lowry is going to be back tonight. So he thinks that Stastny might move up to the top line and Ehlers moves to the second line. Obviously, it's a back-to-back. They're not going to skate, but that's actually a safe assumption. That's another reason to join. Discord's so sharp.
That's a pretty good point. There's a pretty good point that he raised.
Yeah. So yeah, like Stastny moving back up to the top line makes them the legit flowchart boys tonight. I don't know. Like we've talked about Laine ad nauseum. Oh man, and he gave such a political answer this morning to the media about being back in Winnipeg. Woo! Wow. If you read between those lines, there was a couple giant middle fingers there. So like, yeah, he's getting up for this game. Roslovic was part of that trade. They're cheap, man. That top line is cheap. And if Stasny's up there instead of Ehlers, that top line for Winnipeg is poopers 5-on-5. Not that the Roslovic line is anything special 5-on-5, but according to what I learned as a child, 2 negatives make a positive or something like that. So like, I don't know. I really like the Columbus top line tonight. I don't like to live on narrative street, but this is a good one. So I don't know. Like they're so cheap that you can fit anyone you want with them pretty much. Couple lineup slights have Roslovic on power play 1. That is not the case. In case you're looking for power play correlation, Jakub Voracek is on the top power play. Roslovic's on the second unit, but it doesn't matter. This is a good 5-on-5 matchup. So I'm in on Columbus 1 here. If it is Stastny on the top line, that's going to move Ehlers to the second line, and that's where I'm going to hang out with the Jets. If you couldn't tell, I'm not a Scheifele Wheeler fan. I am a Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor fan. You throw Ehlers into that mix, they have pretty good numbers. They have better numbers than Ehlers, Scheifele, Wheeler together. From a power play standpoint, it doesn't really matter. Connor and Dubois are on the top power play. Scheifele and Wheeler are on the top power play. Ehlers on the second power play. But I just prefer that second line to the top line. Not that there's a tough matchup on Columbus, but the more you go down their lineup, the easier it gets, despite line A being there. Like I'm to the point where like I've looked at line A's numbers ad nauseum, and like, yeah, they're so bad, but like you watch the games and like they do give up chances, but when he has the puck, they're just an electric line. You just got to throw those numbers out the window. It's one of those things where like he's breaking analytics a little bit with his play, with his skill set. So I don't know. I think that's where I end. Columbus 1, Winnipeg 2.
Okay, fine. That's good enough. The top line, if Ehlers were to still be there, had, small sample, but a good start. What we thought would happen is like he made them better, a better defensive line, better possession line. So it does make a difference who's there, because obviously Ehlers is a big upgrade over Paul Stastny. With Paul Stastny there, they're a break-even line by expected goal share. So nothing very special. And like that Columbus top line, like I know it's like typically very bad, but in a small sample, they've been above water by scoring chance shares. So I assume that's going to go down, because that's typically what happens with every Patrick Laine line. But for now, has been a good start. So Winnipeg on the back-to-back, even with Ehlers there, like good, but not elite. You know what I mean? Like a 54% line is.
I mean, that's what happens when you have a very expensive Blake boat anchor on the line.
That's a very good point. So I do like Columbus 1 here, going into that Winnipeg top line. And it's not like Winnipeg has a very good penalty kill either. They're in the bottom 10 by expected goals against over the last month. And you'll get at least 2 out of 3 on the top power play unit, Nyquist and Laine, if you stack that line. So perfectly fine going to that Columbus top line here tonight. They are absolutely in my mix. If you look at our top stacks tool, they're coming in pretty highly owned, around 13%. That's because of the price. Like they're really cheap today. Roslovic and Nyquist don't carry heavy price tags. So if you want to, change it up a little bit and maybe like add like an Oliver Bjorkstrand or something like that, or, Jakub Voracek is probably going to be the fourth forward on the power play. If you want to add him in and make it a power play stack, I think that's just fine here. But I do like Columbus 1. Columbus 2 has actually been pretty good in a full season sample, because Sillinger, Voracek, and Bjorkstrand played a bit together earlier in the season, and then they got broken up, never really got put together. Like Sillinger was playing a lot on the fourth line and things like that. But, they're back together in their 85 minutes together, 30 scoring chances generated per 60 minutes. Like that's pretty good, controlling 60% of the scoring chance share, which is really good. And I'm going to disagree about that Winnipeg second line. Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's having a rough month, man. I was looking at some of their expected goals numbers this month. He's sitting at 3.03 against. Kyle Connor at 3.06 against per 60 minutes this month. Actual goals against north of 3.5 per 60. They've been pretty bad defensively. Now they're still generating offensively. So like as far as using them as an offensive line, I think they're fine. But I don't know that they're a great possession line, and that Columbus second line does have good numbers. So like I'm fine with either of the top two Columbus lines. They're both really fillers tonight. It's Columbus one for me because you'll get heavy exposure to the top power play unit, particularly through Patrick Laine, and that's what I want tonight. So Columbus one. On the Winnipeg side, it'd be Winnipeg one for me. Regardless of the way they go, like I said, I think the second line is fine, but they're starting to struggle a little bit defensively. So it'd be Winnipeg one, Columbus one, maybe some Columbus two if you want to dip down a little bit. On the blue line, Adam Bachfist is going to be back, should be back, not confirmed, but should be back for Columbus here tonight. He's a good puck moving defenseman. I just wonder how many minutes he's going to get. He's kind of expensive on DraftKings at least. So I think you're fine to just stay away from him here tonight. But, you know, if you want to go to like a 3K Andrew Peak for some blocks, I think that's fine. On Winnipeg, once again, I think it's Josh Morrissey or nothing. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad that Columbus is playable now. Because if Torts was still the coach, like Sean Corrali would be the top line center right now. And Jack Roslovic and Cole Sillinger would be in like Yugoslavia selling car insurance. So I'm happy we have the opportunity to play Columbus. But I agree with you. Like Bachwitz is kind of a wait and see type deal on the third pair. My boy Jake Bean, 2,600 is fine. Peak and Gavrikov also fine. Werenski, if you want to correlate. If I don't think you can fit in Columbus one and Werenski with Colorado one. That'd be a tight squeeze, or Calgary or something like that. But can work it out. Morrissey just, for whatever reason, plays too much. So at his price, he's fine. It's like the only nice thing I can say about it.
Well, I mean, he does play a lot of minutes, so that is something nice. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. All right, Philly, 2.1 implied goal total. Going into Colorado, 4.0 implied goal total. As you mentioned earlier, Philly played last night, pretty handily beat St. Louis 5-2. But it is a back-to-back for them, and they're going to travel to Colorado. You know, it is an elevation change we talk about, or, you know, at least it's talked about in a lot of other sports. It applies to hockey as well. They kept their lines together all night. So it looks like they should be going back to the same lines that they ran last night, which means Joel Farabee at center. That's just some wild stuff. On the Colorado side, we still don't have confirmation on whether or not Arturi Lehkonen can play. Jared Bednar, their coach, said that they're still working out some immigration issues. They're hoping he'll be cleared to play tonight, but it's not confirmed. I don't know if we're going to get confirmation before lock at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you play Arturi Lehkonen tonight, you've got to have a swap ready to get away from him if you're playing on that second line. Now, if you leave yourself enough money, it's probably going to be JT Compher there if it's not Lehkonen, and there's only a $500 price difference on DK, and I think they're the same on FanDuel. So just a little bit of work, and you can make it work. But huge total here for Colorado, huge ownership numbers as well. What do you think?
Yeah, if you're one-offing Lehkonen, you leave yourself $100 or a couple $100 on DraftKings, and he doesn't play, you could just like swap to Calle Jarnkrok or something like that if you wanted to. But I don't know. Sounds like if the immigration stuff got cleared up, it would be cleared up. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know if to expect him or not. I don't know. It's not my department. I'll give you guys analysis assuming that he's in. Also hilarious that Joel Farabee is still a wing on DraftKings. 3-wing line again. And the winning lineup in the 15 last night had all 3 Flyers wingers in it, which was incredible. Anyway, here we are. Colorado, 4 total. Despite the top line here getting 30% ownership, They're still the top leverage spot, positive leverage spot in our top stacks tools. Top or second? No, they're the top. Yeah, they have a large number percentage, a 45% chance to be a top 2 stack. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen. It's just, it means 45% that they're going to be one of the top 2 stacks. Like, I think a lot of people were like, oh yeah, they're the top in the top stacks. They're definitely going to be the top stack. 45% chance. Okay. That being said, this is an unbelievable spot. It is also possible a power play stack. Our esteemed, good-looking colleague Jake Harry showed us a lineup with a Colorado power play stack, just showing that it's possible. Man, I really do flare my arms all the time. So yeah, I'm in on Colorado 1, Colorado power play. You do have to get super punty if you full power play stack. That being said, I think I'm just, if I go the Colorado route, it'll probably just be Colorado 1 plus Makar, or Colorado 1 plus Kadri. I don't want to get all 5 and completely, hamper the rest of my lineup. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Assuming Lekkonen's in, that second line is interesting to me, just because they're probably going to get the Lindblom, Hayes, Konechny line, assuming Lindblom's in. Now, Hayes and I think it's Hayes and Konechny. They have awful numbers together, like 38% of the shot share, something like that. Yeah, Hayes has been scoring
43%. Sorry,
43%. Sorry, shortchanging them a little bit, but 43% is not good. They're back-to-back on the road. Kadri's having probably the best season of his career. So I don't know. I do like Colorado 2 here. We always talk about it. If you want to get a bit different in these high total ownership games, just start moving down the lineup. Now, if Lekkonen's out and Confer moves up, I don't know. I'm just not a JT Confer guy. I still think you go like Kadri, Burakovsky, Tays, something like that. 3-man, I think they can handle Philly 2 here. So Colorado 1, Colorado power play, Colorado 2. On the Flyer side, this is not a great matchup. Let's call a spade here. If anything, if you're like looking to power play stack the Flames or power play stack the Penguins, I think a Frost Tippett 2-man for power play 1 here. Min price for the 2 of them. Power play 1. The Avs have had issues on the penalty kill recently, so I don't know. That's pretty spicy, but it is min price, and they are on the power play, so have at it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be in on the Flyers here tonight. I don't think, like, at a certain, you probably have to fade one of the underdogs, like if you're building a lineup, or just not play them. And I think between the Flyers and Arizona, it would probably be Philly, like back to back. Going into Colorado, like if it was Colorado, then going into St. Louis, I think that would be one thing. But going into Colorado, like with that elevation change, they're going to be tired, et cetera, et cetera. I just think I'm out on the Flyers. If you want to one-off like a Fairby or a Konechny or something like that, I think that's fine. But I'm not stacking anything from the Flyers. Colorado side, it's Colorado 1 for me. Like if people want to take that Arturi Lekkonen chance, go right ahead. I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, I just think this is a great matchup for Colorado's top line. They've been great since being put together in 65 minutes, 44 scoring chances generated per 60 minutes, just absolutely throttling the competition. They're also playing a lot of minutes. They're not losing their minutes like the Calgary top line is. They're still playing 19, 20, 21 minutes a night. So yeah, they might be 30%, but I think I can get different enough with the rest of my lineup. I love Colorado 1 here tonight. So that's it for me. For the forwards on the blue line, Taves and Makar are just like playing 27 minutes a night. So it's one of them from the Colorado side. Over on Philly's side, I think Cam York has been playing some more minutes, minutes of late. So he's power play 2, playing like, 19, 20, 21 minutes. I think he's fine for min price on DK. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I was thinking about the Leafs, how they they didn't kick them off. They're like McCann and all those people. You know who could really use Valerie Nichushkin right now? It's those Dallas Stars, man. They ran them out of town, and they are eating crow because of it. No, but I do agree with you. It's either Taves Makar or Cam York from this game. Or if you want to punt, Josh Manson's fine.
Yeah, gotta love Yam Cork. Real good defenseman, that guy.
Love you.
Here at Awesemo, we have an Awesemo Hall of Fame where we like to celebrate subscriber success, like we had a little bit earlier in the show. We had Nicholas Barrett saying he took down the top shelf. I do believe I missed one. Somebody said they took down the 50 cent, if I'm not mistaken. Yes,
I saw that. Yeah.
Shane Flanagan took home the 50 cent. I think that's the mini max over in DK last night. So congrats to him as well. If you want to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, this is how you do it. You download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. And if you place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, you send those screenshots into the Awesemo Hoff account on Twitter. That's Awesemo HOF. And if you do all that, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. G-Dub 366 taking down first place. Looks like in a single entry NBA. Congrats to him over on FanDuel. Once again, we got to celebrate Kelly Canuck as we do every day here at Awesemo. We love Nolan Kelly. Took down first place in college basketball over the weekend. Congrats to him. You see Nick Lepre taking down third place in UFC over the weekend. Bonesy had a massive NBA night. Took down a bunch of single entries and three maxes and things like that. So turned $55 into over 12K. Great night by him. And Brendan from Buffalo hit his 4-leg parlay. Lots of betting going on. Lots of betting picks available through the Discord. We have a premium betting channel and all that. So whether it's DFS, whether it's betting, we have you covered here at awesemo.com. Coming up after us, Locks Before Lock, our NBA prop betting show is coming up at 4:15 Eastern with Greg and Savoca, and they are going to be followed by the NBA double dose of the deeper dive and live before lock. All right, Josh, let's get to this last game. Arizona, 2.2 implied goal total. They're going into Calgary. The Flames have a 3.8 implied goal total. Arizona has changed up their lines a little bit from what they have been running for a long time. Alex Galchenyuk was moved to the top line in the last game. That means Travis Boyd down on the second line with Phil Kessel. The Flames also have, they're running back the same lineup they had the last time, but it's different from what they had for the last month. Tyler Toffoli on the top line, Matthew Tkachuk, Dylan Dubé, Michael Backlund on the second line, Blake Coleman, Calle Yarncroc, Andrew Mangiapane on the third line. I noticed a lot of spread out ownership on this Calgary side. What do you think of this game, Josh?
Yeah, here's a good rule for DFS. If you think you're being sneaky, you're probably not. I was like, yeah, man, I think that Dubé, Backlund, Tkachuk line is going to be pretty sneaky tonight. Wrong. They're coming in with the most ownership on the Calgary side. They've been playing well together. I think Dubé is going to do really well with those guys. Here's the issue I have with Calgary 1 here. They are cheaper than Colorado 1 by a fair bit.
Yeah, I think it's like 2,400.
2,400. They are coming in with way less ownership, but the problem here is, Colorado 1 is going to play their 20, 21, 22 minutes. You don't know if Calgary 1 is going to get past 15 tonight. And it's a legitimate concern. The problem is, this is probably the best power play matchup on the slate. And in those 15 minutes, if they get 3 power plays, they could all have 3-point bonuses. You know what I mean? So, what do you do here? I think Calgary 1 is perfectly fine here with Toffoli there, because if Tkachuk was there and he was like 7K or whatever, and this line was 21,000 on DraftKings, I'd say, that's a fade. But at this price, under 20K, coming in barely over double digits in this total, in this power play spot, I think you can gamble on it here, because Arizona, depends on what metric you look at, but they probably have the worst power or penalty kill in the league. So at that ownership, I think Calgary 1's fine. It's not like it's a small disparity between, Colorado 1 we had projected 30% and Calgary 1 projected right now at 11%. If it was closer, like 25 and 20, I'd say there's no point and just go to Colorado here. But from an ownership perspective, I think getting to Calgary 1 is fine here. Start moving down the lineup. That second line I do like as a filler. The problem is they're coming in very popular. Back on Tkachuk, coming in around 14%, which I guess is fine. Dubé 9%. I think, as a filler, they're fine. Same with the third line. They're coming in a similar ownership as the second line. Coleman, Yarncroc, Mangiapane, probably the better of the two filler lines here. They're cheaper. They're just better. Like, I don't know. Mangiapane has 30 goals this season. That's just nuts. And they're going to get depth unless they send them out against, like, I know they kind of like top line sees some top line. The third line sees some top line. But, they will get some depth matchups as well. Like, I'm fine with all three lines depending on how you build. I just think if you're putting in Colorado 1 and Makar with Calgary 3, I think you just need to be like, this is probably going to be duped. But like, if you're fine with that, it's fine. So like, I think the bet, or one of the sneakiest best plays you can do is fade Colorado 1 and play Calgary 1 and just hope they end up in the same realm in terms of points. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing that in one lineup, or maybe you can, but I think the more lineups you make, you can get some Calgary 1 here. On the Arizona side, this is a brutal matchup. If anything, it'll be a little bit of that top line, but that's about it.
Yeah, you look for reasons to play or to not play players on a given slate when there's a lot of ownership in a certain spot, like there is on Calgary. The Coleman, Yarncroc, Mangiapane line, here's my problem is like Blake Coleman doesn't get a lot of time with the empty net. And I know like if you're just focusing on the empty net, like you're going to miss a lot. But like you said, it's a great power play matchup for them. He's not on the power play on either of them, and he doesn't play with the empty net. And if you're looking for reasons like to play different lines that are in similarly great spots, you have to look for what can differentiate players. And I think that's one of them. So if Coleman's not going to be out there at the empty net, not sure if Yarncroc will be, he might. Mangiapane usually is, but his other two line mates might not be. So I think like, if this is a 4-2 game with 4 minutes left, they might not get much ice time, right? And that's kind of when you want them on the ice. So that would be one reason, like I would kind of stay away from Calgary 3 here tonight, because I'm trying to pick between Calgary 2 and Calgary 3. I have them graded out as pretty much the same line. So you have to look for what would differentiate them. And I think it's the fact that all three of Dubé, Backlund, and Tkachuk will probably get ice time if there's an empty net situation, and Tkachuk plays on the top power play unit. So I think if I'm going to go for a cheap Calgary line, it's the Dubé, Backlund, Tkachuk line. And I think Dubé is going to do well on that line. Like this is a forechecking cycle type line. And that's exactly the type of player that he is offensively, at least. So it would be Calgary 2 if you're playing one of the cheap Calgary lines. I'm not going to perfectly fine using Calgary 1 here tonight. Like I think the ownership that you discussed in the power play spot combined with the small slate means that they're perfectly fine here tonight. But I think it's a situation where I might choke a little bit of the chalk and go to Calgary 2 on this slate. On the Arizona side, it would just be top line or bust, if anything. I'm just not sure how good that Arizona 1 line is going to be with Galchenyuk there. Like they have good numbers in a small sample, 55% of the scoring chances, but it's only 50 minutes. And this is one of the toughest matchups in hockey. So Arizona 1, if you're going to MME, I wouldn't be playing them in single entries tonight. I don't think so. Calgary 1, if you want to get there, Calgary 2 for the cheap lines. On the blue line, Rasmus Anderson and Noah Hannafin are getting all the minutes. I think Dyson Mayo on the Arizona side makes a lot of sense for shot blocks on DraftKings. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Mayo. Yeah, the Calgary, they're just the pricing and what they do. No ones are really enticing. I guess Rasmus for correlation. Hannafin at 4,500 is a bit pricey, but he plays a ton of minutes. And he has had a couple combo meals recently, so I guess he's fine.
Yeah, it is getting expensive to play him. It's one of those situations where if I had the money, I would play him. I wouldn't force him into my lineup. All right, we are out of here. That does it for us today. We will be back tomorrow, I believe, at 1 o'clock Eastern with our NHL show. But before we get out of here, if you guys could throw us a like and subscribe, really helps us out. Josh, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks. My hat trick pick for tonight, choking the chalk on Valerie Nichushkin. My goalies are Igor Shesterkin, Elvis Merzlikins. If you want to get really spicy, King Carl Vemelka. Who you got?
Those are my goalies as well.
Perfect.
Dustin Tokarski, not too bad as a punt either. I think I'd rather go to King Carroll. The floodgates are going to open. Alex Tuck.
Love it. There we go. We're getting some Buffalo belief on the show today. Alex Tuck, Valerie Nichushkin, your hat trick picks for tonight. We are out of here. We'll be back in 22 hours. Until then, for producer Mike, for our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris, I'm Michael Clifford saying good luck tonight, everybody.